City Planning Commission meeting at this time. Oh, I thought it was on.
You're on now.
I'll repeat. I call to order this Oroville City Planning Commission meeting and Historic Advisory Committee meeting at this time. Roll call.
Commissioner Arasi,
Here.
Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Sheard,
Here.
Commissioner Jensen, here. Vice Chairperson Jenkins, Chairperson Durling.
Here.
Good.
Just to let you know, I'm not feeling well. My ears are all plugged up, so I'm having a hard time hearing. So
I'll try to be a little bit louder. I'm doing the same thing.
okay. All right. If you'll rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Okay.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and be seated. This is the time we have opportunity for the public to discuss anything they would like to discuss with the non-agenda items. We can't take any actions on it, but it's an opportunity. I don't see anyone, so we'll close that. Consent calendar. Only thing on the consent calendar is the approval of minutes, and unless there's any changes, I need a motion in a second.
I motion that we approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Call the roll.
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheard,
Here.
Commissioner Rossi,
Here.
Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Jenkins are absent. Chairperson Durling.
Yes.
The motion carries with 4 yeses and 2 absent.
What'd you say?
It carries.
It carried.
Okay.
We approve the minutes.
I can't hear over the hoop. Okay. I want to take a minute to have the young lady on my right give us a little presentation and do it now.
You don't want me to do it right at that part? I was going to do it right before the fence. But whatever you want me to
Tap me on
do.
the shoulder when you want to do
Okay.
it. Okay. I was going to do it up front, but that's okay. All right. We'll go on to regular business. Item 2, tentative parcel map waiver. That's the Olive Ranch housing. It's the big project there at Table Mountain in Grand. Staff?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners.
Turn the volume up.
We at the City of Oroville call our minor land divisions waivers of parcel maps, and that's what this is. This is up at the Olive Grove.
There we go. Now we can hear it.
A development at the intersection of Grand, Table Mountain Boulevard above the fish hatchery. It's going to allow them to begin financing and developing the third phase. The minor land division is a method that people like to use or it's used when all of the criteria are already met. There's going to be infrastructure developed with the building to permit. There's no environmental considerations. That's already been taken care of. There's no zoning community. Everything's ready to go except for us to finalize it. So staff is recommending that this be approved.
Okay. Any questions? I had a question. Under the State Subdivision Map Act, I think you're limited as the number of times you can do lot line adjustments or create parcels or whatever without an actual subdivision map, something along those lines. I just want to make sure we don't overstep our bounds. So
yes, that's known as 4x4ing.
Yeah.
And this would create the fourth lot. There are certain exceptions based on the uses, and they're still probably all right. The next time they want to divide land, they're going to have to do a hard analysis about that, whether they actually have to do a full subdivision map.
Okay, so we're not going to do it this time, but there's a good possibility the next time they want to do this, we may require that of them. I just don't want to be in trouble with the state and have the state come back and bite us.
No, I agree. Actually, it's my opinion, next time they come in, they're going to have to prove to us why they don't have to.
There you go. All right, that's all I had. Any other questions of staff? I guess we're ready for a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve tentative parcel map waiver 2112-002.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the tentative parcel map waiver. Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheard,
Yes.
Commissioner Rossi,
Yes.
Chairperson Durling.
Yes.
The motion carries with 4 yeses and 2 absent.
Thank you. We go to item 3, creative signs at Pacific Coast Produce's plant located at 1601 Mitchell Avenue. Staff?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Connor
There you are.
Musler, Assistant Planner. This item is an application for creative signs at the Pacific Coast Producers plant at the corner of Mitchell and Veach. Currently, the exterior is blank blue metal walls. Staff reviewed the application. They're proposing to do a large fruit cocktail logo with in the design that is similar to vintage fruit crates, and then on the Veach, excuse me, on the Veach Street side, doing the company logo with the American flag to help balance it out. Staff reviewed the application and determined that it meets the criteria for classification as a creative sign to process as part of our new sign code. And you can see within the staff report the different findings that have to be made that agree with the classification as a creative sign. Paul Fairbanks with PCP is here as well if you have any questions or if you would like to say anything. But staff recommends approval.
Okay, is there any questions of staff?
Well, these are examples of
Let
the
me-
signs?
Let me open I guess I better make it official that we're discussing this. Any questions of staff?
Are these examples? Or are these the one?
The one in the staff report, the
Yes,
fruit
the one-
cocktail,
Yeah,
that is what will be.
and this is the example.
That's the example, correct?
I love them both. They're absolutely awesome. This one I like really, really, really love. But anyway, I love it. So I don't have any.
Yeah, I think it's one of the
It's fantastic.
most creative things that the
Yeah.
city has done through the planning commission and city council. And it's already making a difference. If you drive around and
Yeah.
I've driven around and all of a sudden you see something that's unique, it's just, I'm just very proud of the
This-
city.
This is exactly the kind of project we need to promote
Yeah.
in our city and for other people to invest in their properties. This is,
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Okay, I guess we're, take a motion? And
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-05.
We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2022-05. Call a roll.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Jensen?
Sorry, Jensen. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Sheard,
Yes.
Commissioner Rossi,
Aye.
Chairperson Durling,
Yes.
Commissioners Howland and Jenkins are absent, so the motion carries with 4 yeses and 2 absent.
Okay, we'll open the hearing for item 4, St. Park perimeter fence options at 1067 Monterey Street. Staff?
Me,
Oh, okay.
Commissioners, Don Nevers. This item is being brought before you this evening because staff has applied for per capita funding through the state parks program to put fencing around our historic lot home located in Sank Park, and some fencing around the Rotary Park in the downtown historic area. This is being brought before the Historic Advisory Commission because they have oversight over items within the downtown historic overlay. This item has already been approved by the city council to be installed. However, we were bringing the design options to the Park Commission and Historic Advisory Commission so that they could have weigh in as to what that fencing will look like prior to its installation around this park. So before you have in your packets, two options. We have the first option being on page 32 and 33 being a black wrought iron fence, which our park commission has recommended a white wrought iron fence. So this would be white wrought iron fence. For the pictures, it's black. But it would be a white 6-foot wrought iron fence with finials and decorative circles along the top, but it would be a no-climb fence. So that we wouldn't have the decorative finials along, or excuse me, the decorative circle pieces along the bottom. But we were hoping for arched gates, for man gates and vehicle gates. The second option is what the Park Commission chose as their recommendation, and this comes from a historic etching of the lot home in St. Park with a very clean fencing, wrought iron fencing with wooden corner post caps and round finials. So, but this specific fencing has it looks to be about a 1-foot concrete footing underneath it. That we believe would exceed the cost of what we have received for the per capita funding of $177,000 that we have to divide amongst the two parks. And so we're looking at just clean posts and then the clean fencing at the 5-foot is what the Park Commission had recommended for that. So whatever the Historic Advisory Commission selects, we will take that recommendation to council with the Park Commission's recommendation, and the council will decide from there what we would like to put out for an RFP for this location.
Okay.
The young lady on my right would like to take a few words. And just to let you know, commissioners know that I allowed her and want her to take the lead on certain items that she has a passion for.
Sure.
And a lot of background knowledge. And so I want to give her some time now to inform us and let us know what's going on.
Okay.
I just want to make one comment just right off the bat before I forget it. The thing that concerns me about signs, especially fences around historic buildings, that I don't want the fencing to be the dominant feature.
Right.
Or detract from the historic feature.
Right.
And so I just want that to be kept in mind.
Right.
Because if it does, if I see it doing that, I'm going to vote against it. So.
Well, and that's actually where staff is leaning more towards what this historic etching is showing, because it has the clean posts with finials and then the clean rungs for the fencing. And so it really plays up the era of the home, I feel. So.
Yeah, and color is also important. You know, you don't want stainless steel or
No.
anything that.
No, we
that
would
says-
powder coat white.
You don't want it saying, here's a fence, and by the way, there's a building. Yeah.
And to add one more thing too, so I met with the company today with our parks manager, Wade Atterbury, and it's a company that, excuse me, I think we all have the tickle tonight. It's a company that installs locks. So they're locks that can be remotely activated. So for park restrooms, fencing, for all of our
Fire
irrigation,
access
irrigation control valve boxes, everything can be remotely locked, remotely turned on. We can remotely turn on lighting and irrigation. So this is something that we really could activate a dusk to dawn locking mechanism at this location and not have to rely on staff or police personnel.
Well, it pays for itself.
Exactly. And so we feel that this in combination with the proposed lighting upgrades, many of which have already taken place at this
great.
location, the camera system, and neighborhood watch will really help protect this asset. And so that's why we're kind of all leaning towards the historic etching of what the original fencing looked like around Sank Park.
Okay. Take your
Go
time.
ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
I was just going to give, since we give our history reports, I was going to give just a very brief history on this park. We all know it was built by Charles Lott in 1856, but I mainly want to focus on his daughter, Cornelia. She was born in 1876. And growing up with Charles Lott was probably not an easy person to grow up with. She was not allowed to go into town to buy her own clothes, to buy her hat. She was not allowed to buy magazines. It was even noted by neighbors that when she would go to get eggs that were assumed to be for the family, she would tell the egg provider, "Oh no, these are just for my dad." She was also not allowed to date, would never be allowed to marry. So this is the kind of life that she lived on that block in Oroville. As fate would have it, she did fall in love with a young man who worked at the New York machine shop on Feather River Boulevard. And this was not allowed. So it had to be a secret, clandestine romance and relationship for 20 years because her dad lived until he was 94 years old.
I mean, they were married. They married secretly.
No,
Or
they didn't marry.
Yeah.
They just,
Yeah.
it was just this secret relationship.
Yeah.
So, because she still lived at home all that time.
okay.
So he died, and the house and the block went to Cornelia and her older brother, Fayette. It was restricted. It came with the property and income, but the income was restricted to Cornelia, very strict amount of money that she was allowed to have, but not to her older brother. He was allowed to spend all the money that he wanted. Well, as fate would have it again, he died 2 years later. So she found herself in possession of the
whole
property and all of the income, which is probably why we now have the property today.
Yeah.
She did marry Jess Sank. He quit his job at the machine shop and he worked full-time caring for the property because it fell into disrepair. And he added on the pergola that now you can see the beautiful wisteria, the pergola,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that entry.
Yeah, okay.
He added on the fountain that we got to see when we had an Axiom event there. It was working. He also built the fireplace, added onto it, and put the beautiful stones that he had polished
Wow.
in the word love written down there. So it's really just a wonderful love story. They also had a passion for picnicking, and they picnicked all over, and they loved to picnic on their own property as well.
Just them or the public?
No, just them.
Just them.
So
okay.
just them. It was kind of private and overgrown at that time.
Okay.
Cornelia died in 1953 at 77 years old. And of course, that was very hard on Jess. And he actually put up a couple monuments at different places where they picnicked in memory of her. So when he got ill in 1961, he wanted to give the property and the entire block to the city of Oroville. And Jack Manassian was his neighbor on Montgomery from the Manassian law firm right here. His son still runs it at Pine and Bird. And he asked Jack, "Can you find out if the city of Oroville will accept this gift?" And Jack said they would. So we do have his will, and I gave most of you a copy of it.
This one, right?
Yes, and on the second half, of that, you can see, and I just wanted to read it. To the city of Oroville, I give Block 9 of said city to be maintained as a park forever under the following conditions. For 99 years, they shall maintain the pergola, fountain, and not remove the fireplace from the property. Within 1 year after my death, they shall provide at least 5 picnic tables, each having a primitive stone, and maintain them for 99 years. The city shall not transfer title to the property by deed, lease, or contract to the recreation district or any corporation or association. Nothing in the above shall be construed as a limitation on said city making any use of the houses.
Well, somebody knew what they were writing.
Yeah.
He was a machinist. And
And you can see what his concern was, too.
he wanted it to be used by the
By the-
public and people be able to picnic there.
Yeah.
And
And
that
they do.
they do, right.
Yeah.
And that condition almost didn't get met because that had to happen within a year. And Jack Manassian had to bug the city and say, if you don't put the camp stoves there and the picnic tables, we're going to lose this to a nephew in Texas. Yeah. And when it was donated to the city, I think it's interesting, not everyone was thrilled because it didn't come with an endowment and it didn't come with any money. Mm-hmm. So it really became, as we still see, it's a responsibility and it's a tough one and it's not an easy one and it's an expensive property to maintain. Jean Manassian headed up the committee to restore it, and she has this wonderful little book you can buy at the Lot House. It's kind of a journal on it. So they started restoring it. She was a parks commissioner in 61. It was open to the public in 65. And they put the gazebo in the 70s.
Oh, okay, that's one of the questions I had when the gazebo
Yes,
went in.
I think 77 or something. And for years, I want to say, I don't know, 30 years, it seems like it was used often. When she wrote this book, which I'm not sure when she did, she said it was booked every weekend for weddings. Yeah. There were school events and bands and churches, and it was just really constantly in use. And so it kind of brings us to today, and I do feel bad that we're in a situation where we have vandals that are absolutely hurting this house, and we absolutely have to protect it with a fence. So I completely understand this situation and accept it. What I do want to say, though, is that there is an incredible opportunity and responsibility here to complement the structure, as anything we do with a fence is going to have a huge impact. If we get it a little bit wrong, I feel like it's going to have a very negative effect, and if we get it right, it's going to be fantastic and it's going to draw people. So we have to stop criminals and we have to encourage visitors. And this is our complete struggle. So I had a couple recommendations, but I don't know, I think I was just giving the history now, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'll open the hearing on the St. Park perimeter fence. Any questions of staff, or does staff have a presentation? We just had a history one, but does staff have anything to present?
I've given my presentation. I would like to leave it to the commissioners to discuss, and if there's any public who would like to speak on it.
That's fine.
So.
Chairperson Darling, we do have one speaker, Julie Miller.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. I just want to let you guys know that I actually went to the Lot House last weekend and spoke to the docents there because I wanted to hear from them what their struggles are with the crime in the area, and also some of the history of the house. And they invited me in, and I spoke with them. And they said that etching, that they have the same etching on their wall. And they said that it's actually an architect design. It's not what was there originally. So that's just to enlighten you on design, if you care to consider that. And there's a lot of crime there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's bad. And they're frustrated. And they did make a request that the city would contact them and talk to them about the specific needs that they have as far as protecting the area. They showed us the back patio, and they showed us where most of the crime happens. And I think that those areas of the home really need to be protected the absolute most because they are clearly hot spots. But as far as the fence goes, I would just like to really enforce the fact that we need to make this home shine as much as absolutely possible. And I know you guys all have the heart to do that. So the fence design is super important. And I really balked at the idea of putting a 6-foot fence up. I don't think that we need something that high. I hope that we can all recommend to the council and really strongly urge them to put something shorter in, because it's going to block the integrity of the home, and it's going to tell visitors that Oroville is a dangerous place to live and keep out, and we don't want to promote that feeling when they come visit our beautiful town. So those are my thoughts and my feelings, and of course I'm a complete historic district nut, so I really want our historic district to have a high standard and to be shining for our visitors and for the people who live here. We want to be proud of our town. So that's just my little plug for the fence. Thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for really putting a lot of thought and consideration into this super vital and very important decision. As far as the Rotary Park is concerned, I'm not 100% sure we need to be putting a large fence around Rotary Park. It kind of detracts from the feel of the park, and again, it's one of those things where it's like, keep out, we don't want you, and I don't think we need that. I think that the last council meeting, they were mentioning bollards, and maybe that's just what we need to keep people off the lawn if that's the concern. But I think that should be an open place for kids to run and roam and have fun. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right, thanks, guys.
Wait. Any questions over?
Yeah. When you went there, what did they say? What kind of crime is happening?
The back kitchen area, the back patio area, they said that's where a lot of the crime is targeted. And
But what crime?
What kind of crime?
oh,
what
I'm
kind
sorry.
Of crime is
There's broken windows. There's garbage. The neighbors have gone over and taken pictures. There's human waste. There's cigarettes. There's drug paraphernalia. There's fighting up until 2, 3 in the morning. Rowdy behavior. It's very bad. But right now there is no fence. I mean, they are allowed to come in whenever they want at any hour of the day, and so we really do need that fence.
So who bears the cost of all this crime there?
I believe the city.
The city,
is.
we pay for this?
We pay for all of it.
Okay.
Our Parks Department is there regularly, pressure washing graffiti off of the sidewalks and the driveway, off the side of the house. There was a fire on the front porch that somebody set about a month or 2 ago where the front porch boards had to be replaced. Broken windows in the front doors, the back doors. The electrical is routinely yanked from the boxes. The electrical panels at the rear of the home, rendering the guest cottage without power, and so there's somebody occupying that. There is
Somebody occupying what?
the guest cottage out at the rear of the lot home.
Legally occupying?
Renters?
Yes,
Oh.
they rent it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're renters. And so there is a full array of issues, illegal activity going on there. And so that's where I had mentioned previously that the lighting at that location is being addressed. Our city electrician has already addressed some of the lighting needs to brighten it up in the evening hours. We're going to make more lighting adjustments there, even motion lighting, so that as people walk in, it'll turn on them and it will deter them from wanting to camp there. We have worked with a local alarm company to give us an estimate for video cameras to be installed in the area as also another deterrent. We are looking at many options collectively and not just one option with the fence, but many options as a deterrent to keep the negative activity out of that park.
And the only other thing I would add is that the kitchen, the back kitchen area, the patio back there does not have adequate lighting. So I'm sure the park will be addressing that.
Yes.
That there really needs to be more lighting back there.
That will be a
so,
motion light being added
Pages
in.
on it. Well,
Yeah. Okay, well,
Now, years ago, I want to take years, 20 years, or I don't know. Wasn't they somebody living there permanently in that cottage?
As a caretaker's cottage,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean-
Currently, the person living there is they're living there as an apartment. We did not stipulate that they need to be the caretaker of that property.
But
But
why-
that person works in the evening hours and sleeps during the day, so they are not there when the activity is taking place.
So why did we, because we didn't have this problem back when there's people that
Right.
actually lived there and would go out at night and.
Well, we
check
didn't have a
things.
lot of these problems 20 years ago.
Huh?
We didn't have a lot of these problems 20 years ago. These
I know.
problems have really spiked in the last 5-10 years. With all around the city. We just are facing at the Highway 70 off-ramp where all of our, that added landscaping is with the mining equipment. We have our staff spent about $3,500 last month repairing irrigation lines because the transients don't like being woken up by the sprinklers. And so we've had to spend staff time and maintenance repairing these issues, and it's a constant chasing of destruction and cleaning up vandalism and cleaning up and maintaining all of these areas that are constantly destroyed.
Any other questions of, I didn't get your name.
Julie Miller.
Julie?
Yeah.
Our staff? All right, close the hearing. and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion amongst the commissioners?
Yes, I have my
Go ahead.
considerations. I do have to say, I noticed the lights. They're fantastic because I go to work in the dark, and it really, I can tell a big difference there. But I'll just try to focus on the fence. Fences, like I said, are profound architectural elements that communicate loudly. No matter what sign you put up, welcome or keep out, the fencing is going to make that difference. I am very frustrated. I don't want to see the city design something just to keep people out. I want this to invite and welcome and enhance the property. This is a Gothic Victorian revival, and I did get a little definition that I think I gave in there of the type of fencing that would be appropriate for that. Built in 1856, that's just on the second page. And basically, I have to say what the architect of the home who did that drawing, the fence that he did with just the pointed little pickets that have the Gothic, that Gothic is a little muted Gothic arch at the top, that really is appropriate. So I would say for consideration, I do not think circles are appropriate. No. I think pointed, straight is more appropriate. I also do not think that this type of a curve is appropriate. That's not Victorian. It's definitely not Gothic Victorian. I think it should be more straight. And if it does have a curve, it should go the other way.
Okay.
Yeah, down.
Down. I know people like the idea of the white fence. Personally, I think black will disappear more and the house will get more attention. I feel like the white could take away from the house.
Absolutely.
And I feel it's not as traditional. So that's my opinion on the color. The no climb. The only way to really stop anyone from climbing a fence is if we had a prison fence with the razor wire like they have at the dam. And I know we all understand that. So we're all making compromises here. We're all trying to weigh this. How do we keep them out and make it look nice? I believe that we cannot get rid of architectural details on the bottom that somebody could possibly put their foot on and jump over. So I live in the historic district. I've seen where these vagrants go. They go where no one is. Every time. These homes, like we have 5 new neighbors in our neighborhood and we don't have a problem anymore. If we do have a problem, we call in about 30 seconds and they're gone. So I would like to see a little more flexibility on this no climb option because we're just making it harder on ourselves if we say we have to have a complete no climb fence. The height, I measured fences along Montgomery and 5 to 5.5 feet is tall. So I would also agree with Julie that I don't want to see the 6 foot. I'd rather, just when you take the tape measure and do it, it's a nice height. I would love to see a change of material, and that's my other picture here. And I love the pointed pickets in this picture and very simple plain posts. Of course, I love the elaborate stanchions. Those are spectacular and would really draw attention. I love the curb idea because we could actually go 5.5 feet tall total, maybe even 6, if we had a curb.
That's this concrete structure on
We
the
could have a
bottom.
concrete structure. And I'm very sad to hear about the money, so I'm going to just skip over that part about that because I just want to explore a way. Because we could do other materials too. It could be stamped concrete, stained concrete. You want to break it up. You don't just want to have one solid. It's so big.
I kind of disagree with you. I think when it's solid, all the same, eventually it disappears. You don't see it.
The black solid.
Yeah, you don't see it.
Black you definitely wouldn't see.
Right. So having different colors, I don't know.
Different textures.
Different textures. It
You
just
try to
ne-
generally,
Just needs to be the same
Visual- well-
and dark. And then it just, the brain, our brains just don't pick that up.
well, I had another thing to offer with that,
Right.
if we go that way. Oh,
You
sorry.
had a question.
Yeah, I think I want to add to that because I was over there earlier today and taking a look. I haven't spent a lot of time at that facility, so this has kind of been a learning opportunity for me. I noticed the building is white. A lot of the other infrastructure is the gazebo, pergola. They're all white. So it seems to me that white would be more invisible, if that's the term. That black would stand out a lot more than white would at that location. It seems to me. It's my opinion. I'm not an expert in this.
No, but why do you see the white? When you go by, why do you see the white? It's because the
It's
white
white.
is more visible. And I think if you had white fence,
You'd see the fence.
you'd see the fence, you wouldn't see anything else.
Yeah.
So I disagree with you.
Okay. I disagree.
That's what this is all about.
I still think, yeah.
Well, if we don't break it up, my other thing is with our fence code, we have that 5-foot setback. And I absolutely think we need that here with some beautiful landscaping.
But that's for residential, and this is a park.
What are you talking about, 5 foot?
Well, I think it would look better to have it set back, especially if it's going to be really tall, with some nice landscaping in front of it. I think the reason we have that in our code is because it looks more, it just has a more pleasing look.
But then we now have trees in the way, benches in the way, spigots in the way. There's other things within that 5-foot setback that would have to be moved, which makes that a much larger and
3-foot
prohibitive
setback.
job. I think we need to stick
Consider.
with it on at the existing fence line. That's my opinion.
So it's 6 feet of straight with no break in the visual.
Well, with this fence that's being proposed, it's at 5 feet for what the etching is showing. So that's what we are proposing with this specific fencing. So 5 feet, and again, we have to eliminate the curb because that's really, if we do this job and we have the curb installed, this is a proposal, and all of this work would be at prevailing wage. So it will really cost us,
A fortune.
yeah,
yeah.
that
Well,
really
can
makes
I-
And
sense.
it's an entire city block.
Then
that
can
we're
I bring up a
fencing.
related question? Because we're talking about this and Rotary Park at the same time. too,
Rotary
right?
Park has somewhat been decided, but that one is not as, I'm not controversial, but that one's not as much of a touchy subject because it's not a historic park.
Right.
It doesn't house a historic
What was
asset.
decided at Rotary Park then?
At Rotary Park, it's either the bollards or the 40-inch chain link fence. So, and it's not fully enclosed with gates. There's gaps and openings, but it would be to prevent cars from jumping the curb and doing lawn jobs. So,
Yeah.
Well, the bollards would stop that.
and it's also to protect balls from being kicked out into the street, things like that. So, and that one would be green to blend in with the lawn.
Because the background is green. Sorry.
Wait, the background at St. Park would have trees and green too. If the fence, so another thing I thought of is the entrance. So we could have this solid fence along with just this gate that opens, right where the pergola is. Or we could offset it a little bit. We could have this fence and have it cut in and have a little bit of landscaping there, if we can't do it all the way around. Just make a grander entrance. So the entrance isn't just a gate in a straight line. It actually is offset, so you have a little more visual interest, and you have a little bit of a segue. You're coming from the sidewalk, you're walking towards an entrance. It could just be something that's 10 feet, but I think it would add more character, and it would be more pleasing than just 5 feet all the way around, all straight. and you don't really know if the gate's open until you'd have to look better.
Right. That can be a consideration.
That's my other consideration. I think the entry is extremely important because people are going to be driving by and you want them to go, oh, an entry. Oh, I can go there.
Yeah.
It's not a private home. It sends a message that this is a place that I can visit. So I would like to see when we do this, if the entry can look like an entry. Very loud, very
Another
strong.
option, as opposed to setting back the entrance, is to having it be that scalloped gate.
With big stanchions.
And I will see if we can price the big stanchions. I think we're pricing ourselves out of.
But if we do it and it looks negative and it looks, if it doesn't look inviting, that's what I'm saying. If we do it wrong, I feel like we're going to end up hurting ourselves more than we're protecting ourselves.
But I think also what we're proposing is substantially better than what's existing.
Well, yeah, what's there is horrible.
So,
Well, substantially better.
oh no, it's substantially better.
It's substantially better
Substantially
as a
better,
fence. Yes, no, the place looks tired. It looks worn out. It needs to have a lot of money. I mean, it
Fence is sad.
needs attention, and a fence is a good option. I just don't, I want to have some offset, some visual interest that
Right.
sends the message that this is a wonderful place to come spend time. Because that's what we need. That ultimately is going to help us.
Right.
The more our residents use the park.
And that's really, we're trying to implement more ways that we can protect this asset. 2 years ago, we re-roofed the home. You know, that was a $130,000 project that we re-roofed that home so we can protect the interior of the asset because we had several leaks and that were destroying the artifacts within. You know, we're trying to, with the fencing and the lighting, and we're looking at updating the irrigation so that we're using less water and watering the grounds more efficiently. So there's a lot of things we are doing. It just takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But this really, we believe, is one of those things. And I am not thrilled about having to put a fence around this park, but it's where we are today with the environment that we're in, with the transients and the vandalism. And we would rather have done what we can to protect this asset instead of done nothing and have it burned down in the middle of the night.
Well, and we have police watching it too, and we have more neighborhood watch now.
So I think the combination of all these things will provide a greater protection for this historic home.
Well, then let me contribute what I agree with what you guys are saying, that the style of the fence needs to match the style of the house. I think that's very important.
Agreed.
The idea that it needs to be, I mean, I'm just looking at, just to show Dawn and everybody, so I'm looking at this big picture here in the document you provided. You know, this is something like this is definitely not a no climb fence. I mean, I kind of judge it by me. I mean, I'm not a spring chicken, but I could climb that. I could hop that fence. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if that's the best judgment of something like that, but that's kind of what I'm using here. You know, it does seem like it needs to have some height to it. I agree that 6 feet is ominous. 5 feet is probably a good compromise.
Well, any fence is climbable, you know, especially people a lot younger than I am, obviously.
Yeah.
But, basically.
But the problem is the vagrants, though. No, it's not the young people, right? It's the vagrants.
No,
is it young
one resident went in the middle of the night to go see who it was, and it was like young kids, like in their 20s.
That's typically
Criminals.
the graffiti.
We need, that's what?
The graffiti that we
Okay,
find.
so maybe kind of gangish, and we need the police to go, and the police do. Every time I call them, they come so fast. So I think with the neighbors calling will help.
Well,
But go on, do you have more to add? Or?
I was wrecking my head. I had some questions here that were answered in the course of discussion.
I disagree with you about the height. Psychologically, it's been shown, there's studies showing that a 6-foot fence has a much stronger psychological barrier to people than a 5-foot fence, because most people are taller than eye level of 5 feet. But as soon as you go to 6 feet, most people, eye level, is below the top of the fence. And they're psychologically, there's a hesitancy then to climb it or to whatever. But if it's low enough where basically they see over the fence, psychologically, it's not there. The fence is not there.
Well, that's why I referred to it as a compromise, because we're really trying to balance being inviting with providing security.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it needs to be 6 feet, but I'd be happy.
But then
to-
that works both ways. The people you want to invite have the same feeling like, well, I shouldn't go.
No,
right, the
no, I
emotional-
disagree with that.
What do you mean invite? I'm missing this.
We want people to be drawn to the park.
The fence,
Is there hour signs posted? Is it like an actual park, open from dusk till dawn?
Dusk to dawn.
Okay, so if you have a fence in there and you say, open dusk to dawn, trespassers?
Closed dusk to dawn, yes.
Dusk to dawn,
Yeah.
I mean.
It- It's posted all around the park. No dogs is
Okay.
posted. The hours are posted, but it's easier to enforce when there's a hard closure saying the park is closed. You cannot be here when it's this park.
Okay.
Because, like Hewitt Park, there's not a fence around that entire park. Or Rotary Park, there's not a fence around that entire park. It's just an open park. But this one also it's unique because it also contains a museum, which is a historic home. So the hard closure is easier to
Well-
push people out.
I appreciate everybody wants to keep it attractive and inviting, but right now we have a vandalism issue with it, right? Spending a lot of money taking care of it. I mean, something has to be done, right? I mean, 6-foot fence, 5-foot fence, I actually like this, kind of looks like the, Haunted Mansion at Disneyland's fence.
Yeah.
It-
I do like this. If,
I like
if
it.
you took it down to the sidewalk level. and
Yeah,
not
I mean,
have-
I-
not have the curb. I would like it.
I like it. I mean, I think
yeah, but
black's
okay.
black's a better color than the white.
You like that. Why do you like that?
Because I'm told that it matches the style
What's
of the
the height
house.
of that fence? What's the top of the fence?
Oh, I think he's saying he would like it if it was 5 feet. All the way
What
down.
I'm saying, this fence right here.
That's probably 4
This
on
fi-
18.
th-
I'm
This
assuming
fence
there's a
you could-
2-foot curb
It's
and
at
a,
least 6 feet to the
and a
from
4-foot
sidewalk.
fence.
But you could put your
Probably-
foot. But you could put your foot on the curb.
No, I'm just
park
saying.
it. That's my.
What I'm saying, psychologically, it's a barrier to the brain. I mean, there's been studies that talk about it. Psychologically, it's different if you can't see over it versus that you can see over it. If you can see over it, it's not there.
Yeah.
To the brain, it's not there. You wasted your money.
This is probably a 4.5, 5-foot fence. That curb appears to be about 18 inches.
Yeah.
And
So
you
it's probably
probably
6
have
feet
about, yeah.
altogether.
It's about 6 feet. Yeah. And that's why I say, to me, it needs to be 6 feet. So otherwise, all you're doing is decorating. You're not defeating the mentality of people who want to intrude into the property.
So going to the matter at hand, what are we being asked to decide tonight specifically?
Specifically, what we're asking is for the commissioners to make a recommendation to the city council as to the design of fence. We have options here, but if the commission would like to choose an alternative option or a hybrid option, then we will recommend that to the city council.
Okay. So should we focus on what we agree with at the moment, or?
That's what I've been taking notes on.
Do we agree with anything?
So
Well,
far, you all agree with matching the style of the home.
Yes.
Definitely want to start with that.
Are you taking notes?
I am taking
Yeah.
notes.
So what have we agreed to so far?
Matching the style of the home.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
That's better than nothing.
what about, okay, if we didn't have it on a curb and we did the straight pickets, like in the architect, kind of what I guess the Parks Commissioner, that option, we still need this railing. Like if we have a 6 foot
As a
tall-
support.
Yes.
Yes.
Now that could technically, someone could climb on it, but I don't want to see that go away.
Right.
You know, like that is going to add visual interest, and this has like double, I don't know.
No,
But I also believe the pointed
what you're trying
spires
to
of the
do
rungs.
is get it's a psychological, believe it or not, it's a psychological thing. You're trying to get people to decide, I can't, I don't want to do it because, you know, but if you can see over it, it's not there.
Right. Well, let's take the no climb feature out of it
Take the
and
what?
just focus on the no climb.
The height.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just focus on the design. What are you guys wanting to see there?
I like this.
So if we removed this
It-
18-inch curb and just went with the 5 or 6 foot rungs or pickets,
Right.
And see how this has double set. I mean, it's more into, and that looks nice.
right?
It's still straight.
But that double set, that lower is going to allow somebody to put
Yes.
their foot there and climb over.
We're ignoring that part right now.
So we're just doing straight rungs with the spired.
With no railing in the middle.
I don't have a problem with this at all, okay?
Okay.
I mean, the fact that it's decorative, that
Right.
having this down, to climb it actually is more difficult.
Okay.
I think.
You got these pointy things here, you know, it's just more difficult. So from an architectural standpoint, I like this,
Okay.
as long as it's 6 feet.
So
And also-
are all the commissioners in agreement with this style of fencing without the curb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, question, I mean, architecturally, would it be okay having this middle, and I'm talking about the middle bar going across here, you know, not necessarily being halfway in the fence, but, you know, majority of the way up is, you know, is a perspective from the sidewalk level.
For support, it will be beneficial to keep that there.
And they might even have,
I mean, keeping it there, but having it not in the middle, but higher. than-
right.
Yeah.
About 4 feet up, maybe. Yeah.
well, and there'd have to probably be a second rail down lower.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
the
So I mean, I
bottom,
would
yeah.
think,
Yes.
so that's
Tie it
basically.
together.
What about like a moat on the inside so you can't, when you
Crocodiles?
jump over, you fall.
Crocodiles. Yes.
I mean, is there any,
How about,
Be awesome.
how about poison ivy?
Yes.
Yes.
but,
And
I
hot
mean,
wire.
How about
and-
poison ivy on the fence?
okay.
Oh.
I mean, we want to keep them out, right?
Right.
Okay, I think there's one thing we agreed to is no color. No, in other words, it's, the only color is the
I would
metal.
say no gloss.
No
You
gloss.
wanna
No
do-
gloss,
you
a
wanna do
matte.
This matte.
Yes, matte
almost
finish.
that's
I agree
faded
with the
Like
matte
this
finish.
color is more, it's kind of a charcoal. as
Yeah,
opposed
this
to a
is
black, right?
color
Yeah.
and design.
Yeah.
I think it looks good.
Okay.
And this is soft.
Yeah.
I'm
I think it looks good.
What I'd like to do is take an opinion or whatever, a vote or whatever you're gonna call it, about the height. I'm gonna vote, I want 6 feet. In order to have it pass, to be less than that or more, or 6 feet, we need 3 votes. Okay? So, I don't know if I've got 3 votes here to make it 6 feet, but I'm telling you, if it's less than 6 feet, if it's 5 feet, it's not gonna work. It's simply, psychologically, it's not gonna work. People, adults, I don't care, kids, whatever, kids climb fences because it's fun to climb fences. We're talking about adults who are trying to get in to do wrong things.
Right.
Okay? If they can see over it, I'm telling you, it's not there.
Well,
So, I'm going for 6 feet.
okay, the only way so there's just a lot of massing all the way around. So I just would love to have the entrance not just straight like this with an opening, but actually inset. So I guess I would say I would compromise and go 6 feet, even though I really want 5, if I could have, you know, the fence goes along and it is
Yeah.
inset, like 2 panels before the entry.
And do we agree on the inset entrances? Because that sounds like a really good idea to me.
Yeah, to me too.
At the Montgomery Street entrance, we will just have to see what the location of the front pergola posts are and how much room we have to play with there.
We have a little room.
Even if it's indented a foot or two.
That's what I
It's
thought.
Yeah.
Again, it's
Yes.
a psychological
Yes.
thing. It says,
3
it says
feet.
to people, oh, this is where you go.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
it doesn't have to be 5 feet. or-
Exactly.
And that's okay. And you'll see here as well, there is a placard that's a sign.
Yeah.
So we would not just put the aluminum print signs up for park hours. We would have it be historically correct with placards and no dogs, yada, da, 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 da. So,
Yeah, I do like and want to have it intended at
Okay.
the entrance. But it doesn't have,
Doesn't have to be a lot.
it's, again, a psychological thing. It identifies, this is not just the fence here, this is something, this is where I go.
Exactly.
And it can be a foot or two, it doesn't have to be 5 feet.
And if you're comfortable with the idea that that is the psychological invitation that brings people there, regardless of having a 6-foot fence, then that meets the requirements that we have. And I mean, you're more knowledgeable about that, the psychological impact certainly than I am. I'll take your direction.
I've
on
dealt
it,
with
so.
it as a developer.
So 5.5 doesn't do it?
No. If you can see over it. Okay, I'm 6'4".
Yes.
What height is right here?
Be hard to climb.
Right here is 5 feet. Okay? If I can see over it,
right.
it's not there. It's simply not there. So I would not vote for anything under 6 feet, but that's up to you guys.
Well,
I
I've
just want you to know
noticed-
where I'm coming from.
I've noticed in the historic district, people who even have 36-inch or 42-inch tall fences don't get people walking on their lawn. I have no fence, so people come use my hose, pick the fruit. They don't even, they just do whatever they want.
Yeah, but this is a
Yeah.
home that's been vandalized. It's
Oh,
a
yes.
historic
We're
home.
talking
It's a
about-
park. It's a lot of different things.
No,
I think
I
if you
wanted
get if
5.
you get
I
the
mean, I
fence
wanted
design
6.
right, I think if you get the
I
fence
agree.
design right and it looks good,
Yes.
5 foot or 6 foot appearing is not going to make a difference in terms of inviting or uninviting. Again, if the fence design is right.
Right.
But, again, you don't want to spend 175 grand and they still jump over the fence. Then you wasted all that money. And now you have another problem.
It's just a major.
So, I mean, the goal was to keep people out and make it look as nice as possible to keep them out. And again, if you get the fence design right, another foot, it's not going to really obscure someone's view, in my opinion. So that's my thought.
So why don't we take a poll, see where we.
May I address the commission again? Really quick, just really quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've just been listening to you guys, and I appreciate the discussion. There's been a lot of discussion about this, and there have been more security measures in place. I think that the problem before was that there was no security, hardly any, I should say, and no fence, basically, because there were many openings that many people could walk in at any hour. So I think the main thing to look at is security, and also the fact that a 6-foot fence will connotate a prison look. It will look like a prison fence. And is that what we want for our downtown historic district? There are many people, and if you go back and listen to the Parks Commission, they chose the 5-foot height because of that very reason. You have to consider what the Parks Commission is also recommending. They said 5 feet because they don't want the prison look for our downtown historic district. And so I just really urge you to really consider the fact that 6 feet is it's imposing, and do we want that look for our tourists that are visiting? I mean, this is a community of people. This isn't just we have to protect against vandals. This is our community, and so we are taking on more security, more lighting that was not there before. We're having locking gates. We are doing so much more now to protect this asset. And so I would please urge the commission to consider a 5-foot length with extra security that the city is taking on now. It's vitally important that we don't present a prison fence to the people coming into our town. I think it's the wrong look for Oroville. I really do. And so we need to be proactive. We need to take this seriously, 100%. But 6 feet it's not going to look good, guys. It's just not.
How about 5.5 feet?
I mean, I put up 5 feet on my wall at home, and I marked it, and I was like, okay, that's not horrible. Maybe 5.5 would be better, but it's such a huge decision, and I just really want the best for our historic district, and I just really feel like a giant prison fence is just going to say inner city LA, and that's not who we are. We are not inner city LA. So let's make sure that we're doing an appropriate height for our historic downtown. So I hear what you're saying, but it's a big discussion, and I'm going to speak at the council meeting as well. So my input will be there as well. But thank you for considering it. We don't need to be overreacting, and it's a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, we'll put up a giant fence. Well, let's take a step back and say, we're doing more security, we're doing more to protect, and we are doing everything we can now that we know it's a problem. Whereas before, not as much. So thank you, guys.
Yep. Well, that's fine. You know, if you go 5 feet, I mean, that's neither here nor there, you know. She does have a point that I wasn't thinking of. If we go 5 feet, but it's not just the fence. We're actually going to do the lighting and all the rest of that.
Part of the lighting
Which
has
is
been
not there
completed.
now. So that combined with having a 5-foot fence does make a significant difference. Sorry, but I didn't think about that. It's the combination of fence security and lighting
And neighborhood watch.
neighborhood watch
Police.
security. So maybe a 5-foot fence is okay, as long as I know we're going to have all the rest of the stuff. Otherwise, if the fence is the only thing that's going to provide security, it ain't going to work. 5
Right.
feet.
No, it
period.
won't. I agree.
And the only other thing I wanted to say is the caretaker cottage should be a caretaker there. And that is not the case right now, but maybe in the future when the tenants move, the city can really be proactive about making sure whoever's living there is doing a security walk every night, paying attention, watching cameras, and really taking that job seriously. Because if I was living there, I would want that home protected. And whoever lives there should want that for that home. So that's another thing that I think the city is really considering now at this point.
Well, that's the way, I didn't realize it had changed, because I remember years ago, it's the way it used to be. You know, 15, 18, 20 years.
Well, and since I've been with the city since 2008, that cottage was actually the docent's cottage for a long time. It was empty, and so the docents used it for their office, more or less. And then it was vacated, and then it ended up, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, that the previous administration had wanted to have those units occupied. There's one at the Lot Home and one at the Chinese Temple, and both are occupied by tenants, in hopes that having somebody there would reduce the activity, but it just isn't the case.
You need to have someone who's an actual caretaker, like they don't pay rent.
Right.
They get a stipend. It's actually
It's a
job.
job. It's a job.
It's a job.
Somebody's retired, and
Right.
you have a
Exactly.
couple living there,
Yeah.
and they have the responsibility to
Right.
make sure the lights are working and
Yeah.
so forth. That, to me, that would provide more security than anything. You could probably not even have the fence and have it work. No,
It's like the homes in downtown. When someone moves in, the vagrants move out.
exactly.
That's what happens. So so the Parks Commission said 5 feet straight pickets.
Straight pickets.
It's kind of like this picture. They didn't mention anything about the entrance,
No.
having a little offset.
And
but
their
they said
preference was white.
Yeah, and
No.
I am black.
I definitely don't want the white.
No.
Black
Dark
too.
gray, matte.
The dark gray, not the
Yeah,
shiny.
right.
I was also thinking white's going to take more upkeep. Whereas I feel like this could kind of rust, and we wouldn't have
Yeah,
to
because
be
when you said black originally, I was envisioning that black
that shiny.
Yeah.
But this is much
Just this
softer. than
iron,
charcoal color.
if that's possible. I don't know if that's more money to have it lighter.
It could either be black iron with a clear powder coat finish, but clear matte powder coat finish just to protect it and preserve it so it doesn't rust. Or we could do iron and then powder coat it with a gray matte finish. It just,
Okay.
we'll
Is there a
price
way
it
to get a
out.
sample of it before it's built to see it?
not until we get a vendor on board who, because we have to put out the request for proposal, then we'll acquire a vendor and whatever application that vendor would use. And so,
Okay.
but if we are comfortable with the dark gray matte, then we'll move forward with that.
I think that looks the best.
I think it looks the best. And then and an offset entrance. And so then we're pretty much agreeing with the Parks Commission.
So are we moving forward with the 5 feet?
And I like the
Yeah,
5 feet.
I'll reverse myself because I didn't think about the additional security that was going to be added. As long as you can tell me for sure
We're gonna keep
that we're
those.
going to have that extra lighting and
Yes.
security, that's
Part of that lighting has already been completed.
Yeah.
okay.
And so I have our electrician on another job right now that for the public safety facility remodel. Once he's done with that, he will divert his attention back to the parks. And so it's not just Sank Park that he's adding lighting to, it's many of the parks.
And the video part of it, is that good?
So we have received the proposal. No, we haven't. We're waiting for the proposal to come back for the video cameras.
Okay. Okay, if you're gonna have that for sure, then
Yes.
I can
We're
do
doing a
the 5
combination
feet.
of measures.
Okay. But if you're not gonna have that,
Yeah, no, the wheels are already turning on those other items.
okay, then I withdraw my stupid 6 foot.
Not stupid. Not stupid. Okay, so I have matching the style within the photo provided, a dark gray matte finish, a 5 foot tall fence with an inset gate at the front, and then iron plaques for signs.
And no curb.
Or bronze
But
plaques,
that's
excuse me.
obvious. Yeah.
Yes, no curb. All right,
And an
so if I have
inset
the
gate.
consensus,
And nice
Yes.
stanchions,
I will work on nice stanchions.
gate stanchions. That'll just look more
They would-
welcoming.
Yeah, those are
It
nice.
would be neat, but it's with, yeah.
Can't we just,
Within budget.
Rotary Park can wait till the next
You just gotta get,
Are you doing the additional fundraising?
Oh, yeah, I
that-
know.
have to
I
get a
know.
How
donation.
much your paycheck?
One
are
park
you
at a
gonna have?
time, yeah.
Considering inflation and fencing this full block, I'm concerned that we will do ourselves in with the funding on this fence,
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe
But-
we do need a fundraiser. Can cities do?
potentially.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
all right, well, I have my consensus.
I don't want a consensus, I want to take a vote.
Okay, absolutely.
I want the city council to know that this was important enough to vote on,
Okay,
and for that vote to be heard.
okay.
And that we spent 50 minutes, 5-0, discussing it? Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you bet. So, do I have a motion and a second for what she has? Why don't you read through what we got, and I'll take a motion and a second on it.
So what I have gathered from the commission is matching the style of the home, a dark gray matte color, a 5 foot tall fence to match the photo provided by Commissioner Sheard with an inset gate at Montgomery, plaques for signs, no curb at the base, and stanchions if possible.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
I make a motion that we adopt what Dawn just said.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheard,
Yes.
Commissioner Rossi,
Yes.
Commissioner Durling.
Yes.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 2 absent.
Thank you all for the discussion.
Thank you, Don.
Well, thanks to staff too.
Yeah, thank
And-
you.
and
Yeah,
thanks to
thank
this young lady here.
And our guest.
Yep.
And so that means it'll come down to the council maybe picking white or black? Is that how that's gonna work?
Yeah, they'll take
Okay.
the options from both.
Okay.
Okay, where are we? What's next on this thing? State Park. Okay, historic preservation, item 5, historic preservation award program.
We had agreed to continue this to the April meeting.
Yeah, but I need a motion to do that. I'm just saying, I want to open the hearing on it, and then we're going to move it. Take a motion to move it. So I'm going to open the hearing on it, and I need a motion to have this continued and a second to what date? 4th?
April 28th.
April
28th.
Okay, 28th? So I need a.
Chairperson Durling, this isn't a public hearing, so you don't technically need to go through that whole process. We can just continue it to the next meeting. Because it's not a public hearing, it's just under regular business.
Oh, that's right. Forget what I said.
So we are continuing item 5.
We're just going to continue it.
Yes.
All right. To April 28th?
Correct.
All right. And just let you know that we did have a staff meeting. It was very good. And being the dumbest person in the world remembering names, I can't remember his name.
Danny.
Danny.
Danny is, you need to know that Danny is kind of taking the lead as staff person
Yes.
on this. So if you have questions or whatever, he's the guy to contact. Okay? Thank you, Danny. All right. Next thing is reports, discussions, correspondence. Any commission reports? I don't hear anything. I don't see anything from Irv.
Wes?
Yes, Chairman Durling, I do have a couple of items to mention. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Just informing you of what's upcoming in the next few meetings of the City Council and the Planning Commission and such. On April 5th, which is next Tuesday, or two weeks from Tuesday, the massage ordinance will be going before the City Council for the first reading. The contract with PlaceWorks to update the general plan circulation element is also on for approval. We estimated earlier that this would cost about $200,000, but we've got a $90,000 bid, so that's good. And we're updating the circulation element in order to bring in vehicle miles traveled, which is a new requirement of the state that we have these analyzed in our general plan. Also, a bingo ordinance. There's a minor change to our bingo ordinance, Chapter 5 of the Oroville Municipal Code. That does not go to the Planning Commission because it's not, Title 17 is not affected here. April 19th City Council meeting would be the fence ordinance. And I don't have any items for the Development Review Committee meeting on April 14th at this time. Does any other staff have an item on that yet?
None at this time.
Okay, and then April 28th, the next Planning Commission, you just mentioned the Historic Advisory Ward. The last item that I wanted to mention was the second meeting of the South Oroville Advisory Group, Revitalization Advisory Group, the informal group, will be on March 31st. And we had a very good first meeting with lots of attendance by folks interested in revitalizing South Oroville. And on March 31st, we'll hear a lot about code enforcement. We'll hear a lot about Neighborhood Watch, which there's one or two groups that are planning on starting that down there. And we'll start getting organized for cleanups of properties and streets that need that. So that's just a heads up of what's coming up in the planning division.
What about alleys? I remember one of the big discussions was alleyways and what's going on in there. Is that going to be included in the discussion, or is it?
Those have been included in discussion. The city is addressing the alleyways, so the Parks Department, Parks, Streets, and then the Code Enforcement Department are currently addressing the alleyways, doing regular cleanups, spraying herbicide, and mowing them. So they are being maintained.
Okay, good.
And the big issue here is why we're having these meetings is to enlist the energy of the local residents and the local business owners so that it's not just the city's responsibility to clean up the alleys and the streets and the properties, but the whole community will get together to do that. So that's what we're about here, trying to get that accomplished. That's all I have.
Anything else from Dawn, anybody? No staff reports? I think that's it. Close the hearing, close the meeting, and see you on the
28.
28th.
Thank you, you made it.